we're gonna disrupt the entire logistic industry. But you have to understand, no matter how full you are, there's always room for a beer. Everybody in our daily life, we have a lot of extra resources in terms of time and space that's not being utilized. This concept is what I call convenience assistance service. Now, take a look at MuleChain.
Welcome to the Hackanoon Podcast. I'm your host, Trent Lipinski. In this episode, we sit down with Ralph Liu. He's an investment banker and the CEO and founder of MuleChain. In this episode, we discuss what he's working on, which is a decentralized peer-to-peer network to be able to do supply chain management and deliveries. If you don't know about the blockchain or how it can be applied to supply chain management and what some of the other use cases are for blockchain, this is a great episode, so stay tuned. Hey, Ralph, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. Could you please give us a bit of an intro and tell us about yourself and what you're working on?
Thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Ralph Liu. I'm the founder and CEO of MuleChain. And MuleChain is a global P2P decentralized platform for personal delivery and warehouse services on the blockchain for the people, by the people.
Can you tell us a bit about why you're focusing on supply chain management for your blockchain project?
Very interesting question, Trent. I myself has been a Wall Street trader out of business school, and then been a career banker, a senior structured derivative banker, eventually the investment banking, capital markets. And all my career as a derivative banker, our job is just for financial innovation. So I've been quite involved in designing, structuring a lot of financial products throughout my career. So since I came back in Southern California, I've been quite involved with a series of financial innovation in the real estate area. So initially, it's real estate derivative, and then later on we have to dumb it down so that we can become successful in the consumer market. So right before this, we were working on co-ownership for real estate, and later on we extended to co-ownership for yachts, for artwork, for everything. So I myself have been in the state of mind of a sharing economy for on and off up to almost 10 years now. So all the previous projects that were worked on is really just financial fintech or proptech. What happened to this MuleChain idea? The closest one is the previous one. It's called We Homeowners. So in that venture, even if you look at the website today, we already give people the free delivery in the community. That's a totally different venture, but that predecessor is already built into that community platform. So we're all about building community and providing new type of sharing services. Now, what happened to MuleChain? That will bring us back to the Christmas party last year. So I have a executive suite office right in Newport Beach. So then during the Christmas party, what do people talk about these days? Trading cryptos in blockchains. So I met this person. He's in the logistic industry. He's basically just a mover, have a moving company. So other than talking about trading Ether and Bitcoins, then I was telling him, the blockchain, the technology beneath that will disrupt every single existing industry. A lot of business opportunity. So through that time, people always say, you learn most when you're trying to teach somebody something. So spending a whole evening having that conversation. On the way home, I was driving. The whole idea of how to apply the blockchain technology, the advantage of the blockchain technology to the sharing economy on the logistics. So that whole thing just came to my mind. And I myself have zero background confidence, the experience in the delivery area. So since then, just a night and day for the following week, I spent all the time trying to figure out, we can really provide this on the P2P basis in the decentralized platform and let everybody to share it. So I was trying to come up with a name for it. Then I found out once we build a platform, we can apply to not just a P2P, peer-to-peer, or you call it person-to-person. You can use the same platform for the B2B. So we could disrupt the courier industry, the messenger industry, or we can disrupt the trucking industry, the ocean liners, the air cargo. There's no limit to what we can do. But should I call ourselves a courier chain, a trucking chain? ocean liner chain, air cargo chain, everything's too limiting. So I spent a whole week trying to design the business plan. Then I found out what I want is the most generic platform. And then I decided that I have to make this a decentralized platform to really utilize this opportunity to show people, other than the big corporate giants, in this world, human can benefit from what the blockchain technology have provided us. That's a decentralization. That's how the MuleChain came about.
Heyo, you got a great tech story you want to get published? Maybe something about bots taking over Twitter or how Bitcoin actually works? Or maybe you just have a story about how to build a great software or a great team. Get your expertise published on Hacker Noon. Email us stories@hackernoon.com and a real human will review your submission.
The key thing here is the benefits of decentralization. So what are some of those benefits that you see and how that can benefit people?
So let me first give you a little background about what we do, then we'll lead to that decentralization, the power of decentralization. Basically, we have three types of business, three parts. The first part is what we call the cross-border mule or the intercity mules business. That business, by the way, is totally white space with zero competition. So the best example, let's say just based on where you are. Are you based in San Francisco?
I'm in San Francisco, correct, yeah.
So let's say you're flying to London next week. You're already a member of our platform. You own our MCX token. Somebody gonna approach you on the P2P basis directly. They say, Trent, can you bring this jacket to my daughter? She's studying in the university in London. If you do, I'll pay you $100. Once you agree, you will be the mule on the platform. You'll be the namesake.
Yeah.
So that's where we started from. Now, if you look at it, the potential, you can literally make every traveler in the world to become a mule, to make some money for themselves on our platform. So therefore, I keep saying, working for yourself instead of working for MuleChain. Nobody works for MuleChain. So that's the first step, okay? That's what we call cross-border mule, intercity mule business. Second part, once we have the platform, we can go into that last mile of the e-commerce business. If you look at the e-commerce giants, they have currently, they're all controlled by the centralized corporate giants, UPS, FedEx, including Amazon themselves. In the future, let's say in New York City or London or San Francisco, there's no way, no matter how big the corporate giants grow, they can never set up a big warehouse at every single street corners. But at that street corner, there could be hundreds, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands individual mule working for themselves. If you say somebody has just ordered something, they click a button. If they use FedEx and UPS, you can get delivered next day. They charge you $30. Then there's a lot of mules gonna say, hey, they raise their hand. I can give it to you in the next 1 hour. I only charge you $10. How? Because these people, they just walk down their apartment block, walk 2-3 blocks and hand deliver that thing to you in your apartment. But these people, they have no overhead cost. All they need just their legs, their hard work. So that's a very good example how the decentralization to take everybody in this world, to become a mule to begin with. Now that part is only just one half of our business. The other half is what we call the pack station business. The pack station is just the temporary warehousing. If somebody need to drop off and then somebody else, let's say a sender, a requester, drop off the jacket, they don't want to meet you in person. So they can simply just to walk up, one floor or maybe in the same building or the local gas station or local restaurant to drop it off. Then they will inform you it's drop off in that particular pack station. You as a mule go there next day at your convenience, pick it up, fly to London, deliver to his daughter directly, or you can drop off at another pack station. So this is between the mule and the pack station. We're gonna disrupt the entire logistic industry. But you have to understand the power synergy between the mule and the pack station business. So this is the second part. The third part, that will go back to the conventional, courier business, messenger business. In New York City, you have a lot of attorney. They got those messenger on their bicycle and zooming throughout the New York City. Then you have people want to deliver just your food delivery, for lunch or something like that. The part two, that last mile e-commerce delivery, and the part three, these are all old established business monopolized by the centralized corporate giants. So the third part is probably the oldest, I always call it second oldest profession. Since the Neanderthal came out of the cave, they already have that kind of service. So therefore, as you understand the three parts of business, now I can explain to you why the decentralization is the only hope. Now everybody look at Amazon as invincible. They just surpassed $1 trillion. Who else can beat them in the future? Let me tell you, that will be the independent mules and pack station owners. So to illustrate this concept, I watched one of the Facebook posting. Once I saw it, I just said, bingo, this is what I need to explain to people. So in that posting, there's a professor. He's taken out a glass jar on the table in front of a whole room of students. He started filling the glass jar with rocks until it touches the brim of the glass jar. So he asked the students, is the glass jar full? The students say, Professor, yes, it looks full. Then the professor takes up a bag of gravel and sand, started putting the same glass jar. So he asked the student the same question again. Do you think the glass jar is full? The students say, wow, it looks fuller now. So then the professor takes off a bottle of beer, started to pouring the beer into the same glass jar until it touches the brim again. So I asked the student the same question. That's how the students started to sense there got to be a message here. I love this story. So now how do you apply that into the power of decentralization? Because in the future, it is going to be the independent mule. No matter how big the centralized corporate giant is going to grow, they are the rocks in the glass jar. No matter how big you are, you're going to have the crevice. You got a room for the small player, which are the sand, the gravels. Isn't that the perfect illustration?
Definitely. I mean, and it's such a traditional business model that you're looking at here. And it sounds like you're creating a cryptocurrency around this to be able to be the platform of transaction for being able to do these kinds of transactions. Can you talk a little bit about your token and your cryptocurrency and, what blockchain you're using and kind of go into the tech a little bit?
Okay, but before I let you go, I'm going to add one more point to the previous story. So the student's going to ask the professor, what is the beer for? Now the professor says, no matter how full you are, there's always room for a beer. Now, coming back to your question, as you can see, we're going to use your own token. I get dragged in, because I told you previously, I was working on the fractional share for real estate business. That's why I've been involved in the sharing economy for over 10 years and trying to create the best way. However, that was pre the tokenization cryptocurrency. So we had a hard time because before the tokenization, what you can do is a securitization to accomplish the fractional share idea. But once the tokenization started, by nature, they're fractional share. So that's where I get, drawn back into this thing. I pick up where I left off to the previous venture. So therefore, the tokenization that provide a lot of value. I myself, I'm still a licensed investment banker by training. And if you look at the only thing that we do is a securitization before the tokenization. However, what happened within the last couple of years with the ICO, with the tokenization, is really just putting the rock out of the feet of a lot of, professional on Wall Street. And not only they become so easy for fundraising, but for the first time, they can combine your potential customer with your potential investors. It's a new type of ecosystem. So I have to say, when we first heard about it, because we've been in this old line of business for a long time, everybody studies, spend a lot of time getting licensed and everything. All of a sudden, you got a lot of young hackers, rock out on your feet. So you can see a lot of the older people trying to resist to it. But it didn't take me long. I decided that the best way to beat them is to join them. We have to do it the correct way with our experience, with our knowledge. And previously, people rushed to it without regulation. So that would never happen. How can you imagine somebody to say, hey, I sit in some classes in the medical school. I know the knowledge already. I don't want any licensing. I want to open door as a doctor. How long do you think it's going to last? So therefore, I got drawn into this business back in 2017 and trying to catch up. With the security background and trading banking background, I decided we started the whole idea, as I said, in the beginning of the year after the Christmas party, the epiphany moment. Then we assembled a team and we're trying to duplicate, find out what these people have done in the 2017 style ICO. Then we figure out, by March and April, the writing's on the wall. This thing is not going to last. But there are certain economic value that the ICO or tokenization provide that didn't exist for decades or in the human history. So we need to keep that. But what is the best way to keep that? Yes, you do your complying ICO. You do everything under the regulation, but you try your best trying to keep that economic value of tokenization. So that's the direction we are going. We do have a lot of funding plan, but we're not allowed to really speak in public at this moment. But I can talk about just generically what is the concept as far as going forward. So to begin with, if you look at the business that we have created, yes, it is very valuable. Everywhere we go, I speak in a lot of conferences throughout the world, and we have a lot of people really convinced this is a great concept, has a lot of great business value. If we are not in this token game, people just say, oh, aren't you just like an Uber for the mule business? But on the pack station business, they say, oh, aren't you just like an Airbnb? But let's focus on this part of the concept first. Our business cannot be farther different from Uber and Airbnb. If you work for Uber, you need to own a car. Yeah. If you work for yourself on the MuleChain platform, you see two differences here already. Number one, you work for Uber. Number two, in Uber, you need to own a car. You don't need to own anything. All you need is just a subway token. All you need is just a train ticket, a flight ticket, or your own legs, your bicycle. So any form of public transportation will be a money-making tool for people. So let's say the Airbnb is the same thing. If you work for Airbnb, you need to own an apartment. You need to own a house. But if you work for yourself as a pack station owner on our platform, you can use any rented space. You can even just say, hey, my car is here. For today, I'm going to park my car here. Somebody need to drop off. You want to pick up later. You can still earn money that way. So it's a lot of freedom that you can do. So this is the first part of the concept. Secondly, if you look at the other type of sharing economy, when the whole sharing economy concept started, there's so many application possibility within this new concept. So let me just name a few. If you look Uber and Lyft, basically they are on-demand service. That's it. They're not decentralized. They're not P2P. So if you look at the type of thing they provide to the humankind to make human work more efficient, not much. They're simply replacing an existing group of workers with a new group of workers. Do they reduce any fossil fuel burning? Do they save any energy collectively? They don't, because they're replacing the taxi cab. By SUV, you're probably burning more fossil fuel.
It's actually worse. There's been studies in San Francisco, for example, the Lyft and the Uber drivers, there's an increase in traffic, there's an increase in car accidents, there's an increase in fossil fuels burn. It's actually a less efficient system.
Correct. Now, take a look at MuleChain.
Heyo, you got a great tech story you want to get published? Maybe something about bots taking over Twitter or how Bitcoin actually works? Or maybe you just have a story about how to build a great software or a great team. Get your expertise published on Hacker Noon. Email us stories@hackernoon.com and a real human will review your submission.
Instead of using FedEx, you say, I use UPS. You're doing the same thing. You're not saving any energy. You're still burning probably even more fossil fuels. But if you say, hey, I want to ask Trent to take this jacket to my daughter over there. Now, come to think about it. You're going to go there anyway. For you to deliver this service, you will save a lot of fossil fuel for this person to go to UPS to get it delivered. Everybody in our daily life, we have a lot of extra resources in terms of time and space that's not being utilized. This concept is what I coined this new term. It's called convenience assistance service. Nobody's spending more money, more resources trying to deliver the service. So this is, you can call it an anyway service. You're going to travel there anyway. You got a little bit extra space in your luggage. If you can use that space to help another person to deliver something, collectively think about how much energy we're going to save for this world, how much less fossil fuel or carbon footprint we can lower. So these are the stories we haven't even told the Sierra Club members yet.
There's definitely a major potential for being able to leverage the things that we're already doing. I saw actually on your Medium, you've written quite a bit about this, and you've kind of written about how we're going into a new phase of kind of job creation that needs to happen to kind of create this new economy. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
So this is exactly the point about it. As you can see, the Mule, we're turning every travelers in this world to be able to make some extra income for themselves. Or some people can actually make a living. This part of the concept is like eBay first started. People can only say, oh, you're a buyer or a seller. It's like individual to individual. But before long, a lot of people use the platform to set up their own small business. They will brand themselves. They started selling business. Or like Alibaba became a Tmall. So by the same token, the MuleChain platform in the future, it is a platform business we're creating. Under the ecosystem, you're not going to just have initially, as we're doing now, individual mules. Pretty soon, you're going to have a MuleChain operator. MuleTrain operator. It's like in the old days, not just one single mule. You will have a train of 5 mules, they call a pack stream, to deliver luggage. So therefore, in the future, you will have business to set up shop on the platform. You can set up a trucking company. You can say, I'm a very smart kid. I just invented another type of drone, super powerful, flexible, in my garage, but I don't have the resources to beat the Amazon and all that. You can come to the platform. You can do business immediately. So these are the technology innovation or the the type of services, that's where MuleChain decentralized platform itself will not get involved. We will only provide the facility, the platform, the convenience to help any entrepreneurs to brand themselves as a more superior mule to the other mule, or they can set up the MuleChain operator as a business on the platform. So therefore, from the traveler perspective, as you can see, even when we're doing just an individual person, think about the entire world's airline crew, the pilots, the flight attendants. They're complaining every day they get such a low wages. But if they do it correctly, legally, they can actually providing the actual resources in their daily life, helping somebody. Therefore, that's the most immediate area. Many of them, if they do it correctly, chances are they can generate more income than their monthly salary. So the same thing with the pack station owner. If you say all the travelers, they're probably more affluent. And they could be a frequent business traveler or the airline crew. So that's why I often say, the mule business are most likely Republicans. But think about the pack station owner. We call them most likely they're Democrats. Why? Think about the entire world's senior citizen. Think about those handicapped people. Those people, they can never go out to get a job. We gave them another opportunity to generate an income stream. We bring dignity back to their life. Even if you're grandparents, you're sitting at home, you're not doing anything. So if you can actually open your door, you can reject any heavy duty, kind of weird type of delivery. You say, I only take something that I like. It's all your own freedom, P2P. We don't dictate. We don't tell people what to take, what not to take. It's all between the person to person, peer to peer, whatever you want to accept, whatever price you want to take. So that is the power. Not only we turn every traveler to become a mule, we can take every single person. Either you run the gas station, you run a local restaurant, or you're sitting at home doing nothing. So what do you have to do? That's called an anyway service, convenience assistance service. If you're sitting at home for the next 2 weeks, when somebody rings the doorbell, you're watching your football game for the next 2 weeks anyway. You open the doorbell, letting somebody drop off an item. Then the next day, you do the same thing. You stand up, open the door, and then let somebody pick it up. You can make $10 out of it. That's the thing you want to focus.
What it comes down to is the blockchain enables all of this by having that ledger and that tracking system to be able to track all of these items. I definitely see the potential of where this can go. Figuring out a way to be able to do what you're trying to accomplish, it's totally doable with blockchain technology. It's just a matter of creating that shift in habit for the actual users.
Correct. So to add to your earlier questions in terms of what exactly is the advantage of the blockchain that we're utilizing. Blockchain is a public ledger. So because it's public ledger, it's an immutability. You need a consensus of 51% to change any data. Unlike a centralized, corporation owning a relational database, they want to erase it, they want to cook the book anytime they want. That immutability gives us the capability to deter criminal activities. That's the number one. So for this business, try to imagine everybody, I'm sure you own some cryptocurrency account. People always ask you the KYC, you hold your passport, and doing a selfie. Sometimes they want you to put another paper, right? The date and your name.
Yeah.
It's kind of humiliating, right? But everybody has to do that. So try to imagine if you are El Chapo, you are the Pablo Escobar. If you really want to do trafficking or drug, would you be willing to go through that process, get your passport, your face captured, so that the FBI, the Interpol, everybody else in the world can see you? Then what's more is your transaction, every single transaction being captured there. Nobody can erase it. So you've got to be a very stupid criminal to be willing to come on MuleChain to do this.
Yeah.
You have your dark web, where you belong,
Well, so you can build reputation into this and have that social proof. So you can see, hey, this person's successfully delivered over 1,000 items. And maybe you're willing to pay a little extra for the guy who's delivered 1,000 items versus the guy who's only delivered 5.
Heyo, you got a great tech story you want to get published? Maybe something about bots taking over Twitter or how Bitcoin actually works? Or maybe you just have a story about how to build a great software or a great team. Get your expertise published on Hacker Noon. Email us stories@hackernoon.com, and a real human will review your submission.
This is the Hacker Noon podcast. So do you have an example or any time in your life where you've hacked something, or you've got a life hack or something that you've hacked in your life or something you've done for your businesses?
Very, very good question, Trent. And as I was telling you, the moments that I'm proud of are all my epiphany moments. Being a financial derivative banker, all my whole life is inventing new invention, come up with that, eureka moment, either eureka or epiphany moments. They are different.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're talking about MuleChain, I have to tell you this. I only came up with the idea of the Mule business in the Christmas party last year. But it didn't come until March. Being an investment banker, I've seen a lot of deal flow, and I watched Shark Tank on TV as well. Before this whole pack station idea came about, we already know if we need to capture that business in the airline crew, what if we can get some sort of relay point, which really getting close to that drop-off, pick-up concept. But that whole pack station idea didn't come about until, I watched some episode in the Shark Tank, knowing some of the other business. Again, they're running very different from us. They're just another, centralized corporation wannabe, a unicorn wannabe, but they're still running as a centralized corporation. So people will actually rent out just boxes, the multi-family building in New York City. They claim, oh, you don't have a doorman, then we do this. By the way, I only just heard about all this ideas. I don't even know their name anymore. But this is where that epiphany moment came to me about the pack station. Because I told you before that, 10 years, over the last 10 years, my mind is just a state of mind of sharing economy. And I found out, bingo, this is the solution that we need. The pack station. Then when I was doing the name search, that's how the pack station name was incorporated into it. Then I want to just do on the P2P basis, instead of just setting up your own boxes and not getting another company to run the business of drop off and pick up. Now I turn everybody sitting at home to run your own business on the platform. That's the epiphany moment. That's what my biggest hack for MuleChain. Because without the pack station, the Mule business will not be as successful. But if you combine them, it's now 1 + 1 = 2. Yeah. That equals much more. Because with the pack station, we can do the relay. We can actually, do a most efficient route throughout the world to do a delivery. As long as we have a lot of pack stations all over the world, even in the same city. You will find out what's the most efficient way, the least costly way for a requester to send an item. Now, by the way, that brings up to another concept. So when we first started, yes, I brought in a lot of people as a team member. Along the way, a lot of people also making a recommendation. So they say, oh, why don't you use a RF scanner, using a QR code, using AI, using an IoT, blah, blah, blah. That all sounds good. But the thing is what we want to stick to. And I've decided that I just want a decentralized platform. All these new technology, we will let other more superior entrepreneur to make a living for themselves, making money for themselves, to prosper on our platform. But our platform will not shut the door for those handicapped people, senior citizens sitting at home. They don't want other fancy technology other than just a cell phone to take a picture as a proof. That's a role we want to be. Because if I want to step into the toes, I want to develop the AI, figure out the best routes, figure out the least costly route. Some service we can provide, but that's not going to be how we make money. I want to give the opportunity to other members on our platform to do that. We want to stick true to the decentralized platform. That is the only way for me, I feel I can reach out to more than 90% of the world's population. If I design another super powerful drone, if I doing another thing, become another centralized corporate giant, at most, I'm going to reach out to less than 10% of the world's population. But our goal is not to make money. It's to really bring the services. Think about it. Country in Kenya, in Cambodia, in Brazil, in a lot of the Soviet bloc countries, they don't have an efficient delivery system, not even a postal system. There are many, many opportunities. People need this service. So we don't need another centralized corporation. We don't need the government to run the delivery business anymore. So that's why we want to just stay true to a decentralized platform. Since day one, yes, we're not going to make a lot of money. We want to stick to just a 3% for every single fee that the Mule and pack station owner owns.
Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, see, that's what I want to focus on. It's just like many people that I speak to in the conference, people really agree. Why don't you turn this opportunity to become a movement to really help human work more efficiently? Collectively, we can really save a lot of global energy waste. So these are all the direction we're going after. So we don't want it just to be viewed as another startup commercial opportunity to make money out of blockchain. I want to bring to your audience that blockchain can indeed do human good.
And where can people find you?
Right now, I would say the centralized location, just our website. That's a MuleChain, MuleChain.com, or the pre-launch charter member, the mobile download, it's going to be available pretty soon. But if you go to the website, you will see all the information there. So if you leave your email there, you'll become one of the charter members for MuleChain. that come along with certain advantage as well, of course.
Well, thank you, Ralph, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure. You're definitely working on some world-changing tech, and I definitely see the potential in creating a system for being able to go after one of the oldest business models in the world, decentralizing that in a way that makes sense. It's kind of a shame that deliveries and all these systems that we have today have been so centralized to the point where it has cut the normal person out of it. It doesn't have to be that complicated. There is potential for using blockchain to be able to solve this problem and to enable normal people to be able to interact with each other, to be able to solve these problems and then monetize it.
There you go.
Well, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Chain.
This concludes another episode of the Hacker Noon podcast. I'm your host, Trent Lipinski. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on social media. You can also find us at hackernoon.com and podcast.hackernoon.com for more episodes. Thank you for listening.